Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and this time around it's Mega Man 3, brought to us by Capcom. Now let's first take a look at the box art. So this is the American box art, and as you can see, he actually finally looks like Mega Man. He has an arm cannon, he resembles Mega Man, the other characters in the thing look like they're Robot Master forms, even though Mega Man's kind of shooting Sparkman in the crotch. Still, it looks pretty good. This is, of course, the Rockman 3 box art, Mega Man 3 in Japan, and all the characters are there in their anime form, and of course, since it's the Japanese artwork, they look really, really good. Now, last, it's the European box art, and it looks a lot better than Mega Man 2's box art. I kind of panned the European box art because it was so bad for Mega Man 2, but you can see all the characters, they look there. The only thing kind of weird about it is the Dr. Wily in the background kind of looks a little bit creepy, but at least all the other characters are there, and they're represented, and they actually look like their character forms. Now, let's get going with the actual playthrough of Mega Man 3. And I must say, this is the one I'm probably this is probably my worst Mega Man game in terms of me being actually able to play. I have some difficulties, especially, I spent all last week playing Mega Man 2, so now I'm playing Mega Man 3, and the difficulty jumped back up from pretty easy. Mega Man 2 is pretty much the easiest one, and it jumps back up with Mega Man 3. And we're going to start off with Snake Man. I actually, for once, so far, didn't start with the easiest. And the other two I start with Flash Man, I start with Bomb Man, and now we actually get to start with one of the harder ones. Like I said, completely random, I drew out the names, so we're going to have a completely random playthrough of all the Robot Masters. Snake Man, had I actually gone ahead and defeated Needle Man beforehand, I would have his weakness. Snake Man is weak to Needle Man. And this kind of started like the weirdness of weaknesses, because in, all the other ones, there was elements and such, so most of the weaknesses kind of made sense, like, ice and fire and earth and such. But starting with Mega Man 3, we kind of added, like, random Robot Masters, and we got ones like, Spark Man and Snake Man and Magnet Man and Top Man, Gemini, Shadow, and Needle. And so the weaknesses kind of wouldn't always be, right, sort of, throughout the game, of course, I'll be mentioning what their weaknesses are, but I'll be using just the Mega Buster, the arm cannon, whatever you call it. I will be using that to defeat all the Robot Masters throughout the game. I'll be using just that unless otherwise needed. And I will be using the ultimate ability to defeat the final boss, because it's, of course, the greatest thing in one of the greatest endings in video game history, being able to defeat the final boss with one of the worst weapons of all time. Which, of course, we will dive more into as we get farther into the game. Working my way through Snake Man's level, they introduced these things right here. There's mystery containers that contain anywhere from a small item regain, small health regain, to big life gains and big item gains, as well as extra lives and energy tanks, which I mentioned how much I love them in Mega Man 2. And this game is one of those ones I will probably use more than one energy tank. Just warning ahead of time. Like I said, this is probably my worst Mega Man game, or the one that I am the least experienced with. As a kid, I had Mega Man 2, I had Mega Man 4, I had Mega Man 5, and I had Mega Man 6. It took me a while to get Mega Man 3. When I finally got Mega Man 3, I already had my SNES, and I was already really playing that, so even though I did complete it finally, it just took a lot longer because I didn't really get a chance to play a whole lot of Mega Man 3. It was like 1993 or 1994 when I actually walked into a KB toy store and picked up my copy of Mega Man 3. It was kind of sitting there in like the bargain bin at the time, so I remember that's where I ended up picking up my copy of Mega Man 3. Now this is one of the harder parts of the stage. You have to deal with these platforms that rise up and they move back and forth, so it's a little bit hard to judge your jumping, because in Mega Man, jumping is of course the most crucial thing when it comes to getting through these levels. You have to have exact, precise jumping, or else you end up falling in a pit to your instant death. So, I had to make sure I do well at that. And okay, here we go with the first Robot Master that we're doing for Mega Man 3. It's Snake Man, who's kind of a weird Robot Master. He has his Search Snakes, which is his big normal weapon, and he just runs from back and forth amongst the screen and just drops random snakes. He's pretty easy, actually, as long as you don't run into him too many times. But as you can see, Mega Man 2, he would have already been dead with the amount of shots I gave him. But because they increased the amount of shots it takes to kill one of the Robot Masters with just the arm cannon, it just takes a lot longer. Now, I mean, it doesn't take a ridiculous amount of time, as I'm just getting my butt kicked by him here. Come on. I'm not going to die right off the bat here, am I? Okay, he's almost done. There we go. There's the end of Snake Man. just jump over his search snakes, which is of course the item you end up getting from Snake Man. And just watch out for him as he runs back and forth. But he's one of the more easy patterns to judge because he just moves from, left to right, back and forth. He's not the easiest by far. I have, a couple ones that are definitely easier than him. But either way, we get the search snake, we turn green, and now we get to move on to the next stage, which I am doing Hardman next, who is easily one of my... I have a hard time sometimes defeating Hardman. Haha, kind of funny. But here we go with Hardman stage, which we have these stupid bees that drop these damn, freaking cone things, similar to the birds that drop the eggs in Mega Man 2, which are one of my least favorite enemies, just because I hate things that drop and then cause a whole bunch of other stuff to end up coming out of it. Only thing good about it is they do drop random items. They do drop good items, including, like I just got there, the big health item. So in case I did take some damage during the course of it, I would be able to gain my health back fully there. This is also the introduction of a few things, including the Rush Coil and the Rush Jet and the Rush Marine. You start off with the Rush Coil, and of course you earn the other ones by defeating certain robot masters throughout the game. And of course I had to use the Rush Coil there in order to make it up this jump. They also introduced, of course, the sliding ability, which became famous in Mega Man and is much, much used in all the speedruns people like to do of the Mega Man series, especially 3, 4, 5, and 6. Which not only had the slide ability, 4, 5, and 6 also included the charge-up ability, so you actually could charge up your arm cannon and do a more vicious shot than having to just constantly button mash. It was actually somewhat beneficial to charge up your shots. You could also do that with some of the items as well, so you get the Robot Master abilities and you could charge them up and do different things as well. But unfortunately, that is not in this game. We just got the power slide, which is still very useful. As you can see, of course, they added different areas, levels, where you actually have to use the power slide to get past them. But overall, the only thing that really changed was the speed you could go at. You can get through a lot of the tougher areas by just using speed, as I just picked up an energy tank by defeating one of these giant Matul bulldozer-style things. And because of the slide, I can slide right across areas and really speed up the amount of time it takes me. But this is still one of the longer Mega Man games, as we are getting our first look at Proto Man, one of the more famous characters from Mega Man. Became one of the more popular ones. He has one of the easiest patterns in the history of video games to follow. As you can see, just jump over his shots and he'll jump over my head half the time and I'll be able to do a lot of damage to him. Even though this time he's messing me up a little bit. There we go. After a whole lot of shots, he gets taken down and disappears. Throughout the game, in certain stages, you'll have to fight him, including a final showdown. Right after you defeat all the Robot Masters, you have one last battle against him. Because he's like, is he good? Is he bad? You're not quite sure, who exactly he's working for. He kind of just randomly teleports into levels. But okay, here we go with Hardman, who throws out his hard knuckles at us, and he throws out both of them. Of course, they are coming at you at whatever exact place you're standing. So if you jump, they're going to come at you diagonally. If you're standing on the ground, they're going to come at you straight. And since they fire both of them, one ends up going one direction half the time. The other one, of course, after you jumped over the first one, flies at you in the sky. So you just got to figure out which one works better for you, whether you like to be on the ground first or be in the air first. You get a little bit of a rhythm going, it's okay, but since they don't do a whole lot of damage, getting hit by them really doesn't matter that much. As long as you have a good amount of health, you should be able to take out Hardman way before he ends up taking out you. So I really don't have a strategy other than, of course, jump over the hard knuckles and fire shots when you get the opportunity to. And, of course, don't be landed on by him. If you get crushed by Hardman, you will lose a lot of health. So that's the key thing you want to be the most careful about when it comes to dealing with him. And we get Hard Knuckle, which we turn a darker shade of blue with some grayish white in there. And now we're going to go back to the stage select where we get to pick our next Robot Master, who is going to be, well, it's going to be Needleman. Needleman isn't too difficult. His stage is actually pretty fun. And in case you were wondering, Hardman would be defeated by Magnet Man, which I guess just because Hardman and all the other Robot Masters are metal, they would be attracted to Magnet Man. But other than that, I really don't understand why exactly, other than they needed to have a weakness, why he'd be weak against magnets. But we're on the Needleman now, and Needleman is actually weak against Gemini Man, who has the Gemini laser. Because I was always disappointed by Gemini Man, which when we get to his stage I'll discuss more about his ability and why I think it was useless and why I was so disappointed by it. But this is Needleman stage as we'll continue on going through. While I have been replaying all these games and listening to all the soundtracks and everything, I must say that it just seems like, for whatever reason, Mega Man 3 disappoints me in that just the soundtrack wasn't as good as Mega Man 2. Like, I absolutely love every track of Mega Man 2 soundtrack, and this one, there's a bunch I like and a couple I love, but I don't like all of them or don't love all of them. So I must say that this seems like Capcom put almost all their effort, put like this super big effort into Mega Man 2. I always wondered if Mega Man 2, when they did it, was going to be like their final huge project for the 8-bit era. And then, they were going to start working on some other stuff, and then, as, new systems were being worked on and such, they ended up making 6 Mega Man games on the NES, and most of them came out later and later after, the SNES actually launched in 1991. They still had, 4, 5, and 6, or whatever came out, I think, after the SNES was already out in, Japan and in America. I always wonder what exactly they decided. I guess when they decided to do the SNES ones, they decided to just move on to a whole new series when they did Mega Man X, but then they still released 8. I just always want to know what the concept was, or what Capcom's whole thing was when they were working on these games. What exactly they were trying to come up with, or how many did they actually want to make, how many, did they just kind of get forced into making because they needed games and such. Okay, Needleman time, and Needleman actually reminds me a lot of Metal Man because of the way he fires his projectiles, but he has one key thing that Metal Man doesn't, and that's the ability to, like, kind of shoot the head, throw his head off type of thing with the spring on it. But other than that, he still kind of, he doesn't, he jumps around at random, unlike what Metal Man would do. Metal Man would just kind of stay in the same place unless you invaded his territory pretty much and got close to him. But Needleman will jump around at random and still fire his needles pretty much in different directions depending upon where you're standing. But he's actually pretty difficult to try to judge and try to jump over all the needles, all the spikes. Only real thing about it is, of course, unless you get hit by him himself, like his head and top stuff like that, the little individual needles, thankfully, don't do a ton of damage. But since we were able to pick up an energy tank during the whole course of his level, if we needed to use it, we would have had that available to us. Okay, you got the needle cannon, which will actually be useful if I was using it, against Snake Man. But since Snake Man's already done, and, now, whatever, so... Anyway, here comes Shadow Man, which... Shadow Man is actually one of the more interesting ones, more sporadic in pattern, hard to judge exactly what's going on. And I kind of questioned when I first started the stage. I'm like, is this Shadow Man stage? Because of just like the big giant red flowing waterfall in the background and throughout most of the stage. I was just like, exactly does that have to do with Shadow exactly? But either way, of course, just keep going through it. And here's our second battle with Proto Man. Or Breakman, or whatever he was disguised at the time. And on an even playing field, on just a flat ground, it's even easier to judge, and easier to dodge his weaponry and his jumping and such, and just following his patterns is even easier. It was a little bit more difficult when we did it in hardband stage, just because of, it was kind of that, like, mountain style, like, multiple platforms you had to worry about. As we continue on with, of course, more of the giant red waterfall, and now we have darkness, which... at least makes more sense about shadows, at least. Which I always thought they could have done something really cool with Shadow Man stage. Just thinking about different things they could have done. Maybe just made it that you only control like the shadow or something, and like it's kind of in the background, and you're controlling just the shadow, and yet the judge jumps and such differently, just because you'd be controlling both. Just be controlling the shadow. And, thinking about the way judging how distance and all worked, I think would have been cool, or something to do with it. It's just something randomly I've thrown out there that I was thinking about. At least while, I've been playing this game especially, I'm just like, come on, they could have done something really cool with that. And now we have a whole bunch of pitfalls that we worry about falling into the red water on the bottom here, and we have these parachuting guys, which are always fun to deal with, because they just kind of keep falling keep taking them out. They're pretty easy. They're just there. They're one of those enemies in Mega Man that are just there so that you end up hitting them when you try to make a jump. You try to make it, and you're like, oh, I think I can make it. I think I can jump right under them, and you end up hitting them and fall right down the pit and end up losing a life. And it's just like, damn you, Capcom, for the way you designed that, putting that monster right there. Okay, Shadow Man time. Shadow Man has two things. He shoots, of course, his like shadow stars, his throwing stars, as well as he likes to jump and slide, similar, of course, to Mega Man slide. So that's the hardest thing to deal with, is dealing with that slide of his. That's the hardest thing to dodge, and I'm more concerned always with that. When he throws his throwing stars, I have a harder time judging it because I'm kind of more focused on just dodging the... I'm always jumping ahead of time, trying to get ready to dodge the slide as I just got hit there by it. Come on, he's almost done here. A couple more hits, one more, there we go. Shadow Man is completed. And now that we have Shadow Man's ability, officially, Spark Man would be officially weak against Shadow Man's throwing star ability. In case you were wondering, Shadow Man is actually weak to Top Man's top spin, which is always humorous anytime you mention top spin, because of course it's considered one of the absolute worst weapons in Mega Man history. And for defeating Shadow Man, we get Shadow Blade and turn purplish pink. I always wondered that, with Quick Man and Mega Man 2, you turned pink, and I was just like, what the heck does that have to do with Quick Man? And now in this one, you turn purple from Shadow Man, who of course was like blue. So it's kind of funny. Okay, next level, and here we go with Spark Man. Which, of course, with electric-based type level, of course, there's going to be lots of different enemies they can, of course, use with that. Various enemies that are going to, of course, throw lightning at me or spark at me, like that one in particular just did. Like I said, since we have Shadow Man's ability, we could use that on Spark Man. It would just mop him up in just a matter of a few seconds. But even with an electric-based level, we still have Hammer Joes and such that we have to deal with, or whatever they're called. I think they're called Hammer Joes. Kind of like Sniper Joe from, other Mega Man games. Here's some of the harder jumping in the game. You gotta time your jumping just right with these platforms, because as soon as you jump on them, of course, they're starting to head towards the spiked filled ceiling. So you have to time your jumps more, carefully in terms of making it. If you needed health, though, you can jump up there and use the rush coil if needed, in order to grab an extra little boost of health. Hate these stupid little flipping guys. They're just one of those worthless enemies that are just in there just to annoy me. Make a long, long fall here, apparently. There we go. Now we gotta deal with random trash piles, as if, like, random cars have been crushed into cubes. We have to deal with them now. Work our way down and slide underneath this big thing here. There we go. Now we have more of these hard jumping things with the upward platforms, and of course now we have another enemy we have to deal with, the random screw that I don't understand. And here we go, it's actually time for the boss battle. Spark Man, here we go. And Spark Man's actually one of the easier ones to deal with in the game, even though you have to deal with him on like this multi-leveled platform type thing. But he has pretty much one ability, and that's he does a spark shot that does that spread shot of sparks, which is pretty easy to dodge, and then he throws out a giant spark at you, which is a little bit harder, of course, to dodge, especially depending upon the angle in which he throws it at you. But that one does a good amount of damage, but still not a ton. So really just, the thing that hurts you the most in all these ones is the fact that if the guy actually runs into you, jumps on top of you, or whatever, that does a lot more damage than any of the weapons they ever use. But Sparkman's one of the easier ones, definitely, to have to deal with. Not the easiest. We haven't gotten to the easiest yet, actually, but one of the easier ones, and like I had already mentioned, if we had used Shadow Man's ability, it would have even taken less time than it did there. But you can definitely see that they take a lot more shots than they did in Mega Man 2. It takes a lot more of just the regular blaster shots to actually be able to do damage to them. And of course I get Spark Shock for doing Sparkman's level. Okay, next one up is Gemini Man, which is not one of my favorites. This is one of the harder boss battles. I always have had trouble dealing with Gemini Man in particular. This is one of my favorite songs, but one of my least favorite levels, I must say, just because I hate dealing with Gemini Man. He's one of the more difficult ones because you have to be really, really quick. His pattern is extremely easy to dodge, but you have to be really, really quick in order to actually be able to hit him. And he's weak, of course, against Needleman, which I think I mentioned earlier as well. You gotta deal with these random flame things. I'm not really sure exactly in, like, you know, are we in a snow place or in a crystal built place, some weird crystal-style cave? Because we have random penguins hanging around, random penguin robots, which I always kind of found humorous. And of course, you got these things dropping fireballs, which they're not really hard to dodge, but I always found the penguins actually quite funny, and they throw eggs at you, which is even funnier. As I work my way over and jump through this area. Okay, and all of a sudden now, even though we've been fighting him, you know, Proto Man appears or whatever and opens up the ground area so that we actually can continue on to the next part of Gemini Man stage, which is kind of funny. You know, you've fought him a bunch of times, but then he helps you, so it's more or less more mysteries. You know, now you have even more stuff you're questioning, whether or not he's good or bad or whatever. And through a good chunk of this stage, we have to deal with these things. It's just a whole bunch of these random, like, pod-type weird things, like this, you know, kind of weird. Like, kind of reminds me of something that would be in, like, a Metroid game or something. I don't really know why, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. And when you break open the little pods, little tiny little blue things come out of them, and you have to kill them, or else. And the only thing good about them is, of course, like some of the other random small stupid enemies throughout Mega Man, they drop good items. As I work my way through here in order to make my way to that ladder. There we go. Climb up the ladder to continue on in Gemini Man stage. And I'm going to pull out Rush Coil here in order to get up here, in order to just bypass some of the harder stuff. I can just take me less time to get through this area by using Rush Coil. Kill a whole bunch of these random stupid guys. There we go. Continuing on, now we have a big open area, which we have the giant super penguin, which, you know, is one of those kind of like mini-boss type things, kind of like the giant fish in Mega Man 2's Bubble Man stage. That's pretty much what it reminds me of. And of course, as we get to the other side, we have another one to deal with, which jumping up and shooting it in like its little spinning thing. You know, a handful of times, you know, it'll be dead in a few seconds. And of course, if you time your jumps correctly, you can jump over almost all the other penguins before they end up hitting you. Drop down. There's some health in case I needed it. Okay, now we're in the water area, which we get to use one of my favorite things, the Rush Marine, because for whatever reason, you have the Rush Marine, which is actually pretty cool looking, and I actually like it, but the thing about it is, you only use it, like, in this level. There's very few times in the game you actually get to use you need to use the Rush Marine. And of course, in this area, it works out really, really well. And as you're going through it, there's the big giant item health things that are laid out throughout it, so in case as you're running out, because you can see how much it quickly drains your energy from it. As I get out of it, and I get another energy tank here. Work my way up the ladder, here's some random stupid frog-type enemies, and climb up to the next ladder. And there we go, there is our boss room. I'm going to climb down here to get a good vantage point to take out this robot so it doesn't hit me. As you can already see, I'm a little bit low on health. I have about half of my health left, and going into Gemini Man with only half health is not exactly the best scenario possible, but I do have energy tanks in case I get too low. Okay, Gemini Man, of course, splits himself into two, and anytime you fire at him, whichever one is, like, on the ground with you, like, even though, and sometimes if there's both of them on the ground, they'll both fire at you, but as you can see, it's not that hard once you get a pattern going and you've done this enough, but every time I fire, of course, you know, they fire back at me, and then after you destroy the clone or whatever, he starts jumping around easily, being able to be hit, and as you can see, he shoots out his Gemini laser, which is a little bit of a pain, but he becomes extremely easy after you eliminate the clone. So he's one of the harder battles because you have to get past that first set with the clone. But once you get past the clone part, he's actually pretty easy. And of course, it fills up my Gemini laser ability, which, like I said, I was always mad about Gemini Man just because when you defeat him, you don't get the ability to clone yourself, which I thought would have always been really cool, just to have like an extra clone hang around you. So it would have fired, you know, just as well as, you know, as you, every time you fired, it would fire as well. So, you know, other video games did that same thing where you actually get an ability to make two of you or multiples, such as Ninja Gaiden, for example. So I always thought that would have been really cool had Capcom done that with Mega Man. The ability to use that ability and split yourself in two and then be able to do multiple shots. So it would have maybe made things easier in certain parts, but, you know. Either way, it's time for Magnet Man stage, which is one of the easier stages, I think. Magnet Man in general isn't too difficult, as we have to deal with another one of the Proto Man battles. As you can see, he's just going to jump over my head, and I'll jump over his bullets when needed, or else he'll just jump and fire over my head, which is even funnier. I mean, as long as you don't jump into him, and as long as you don't try to go too offensive with him, he'll end up just keep going, and you can just end up killing him way before... Most of the time, you'll kill him way before he even hits you. So that's kind of funny. We got these giant missile launcher guys, which is a little bit of a pain. Not them themselves, but just the missiles that they shoot out, since they're kind of homing missiles. They're a little bit of a pain to deal with. Work my way down here. Here's some more of those flipping guys that I mentioned are just annoying and, you know, not hard by any means, but just annoying. Here's more of them. And we have these giant, like, wind-type suck things that bring you closer into them, or like magnets, I guess. Which are a little bit of a pain to deal with. Of course, they're going to make some jumps a little bit more difficult, because you have to time it better. But other games have done it well, you know, have done it as well. Here's the most annoying part of Magnet Man stage, easily. And that, of course, is disappearing freaking blocks. I hate them, as everyone I think knows, I hate the disappearing blocks from the other Mega Man games, so of course why would I not hate them in this one? And of course they try to make it challenging by having the magnet thing, or whatever, blowing you into it, or sucking you towards it, so you have to time your jumps differently. But even with that, it's still, these ones aren't as bad as I think the ones in Heatman stage in Mega Man 2. I actually hate those more, just because I think I died a lot more in Heatman stage than I did in this one. But that was probably just because I got this game years later, after I was already have beaten pretty much every other one of the Mega Man games. Okay, time for Magnet Man, who's actually another one of the pretty easy Robot Masters, actually, because he only has really one big thing he does, and that's that he shoots out those magnets, and then he'll do his magnet ability, which brings you towards it, which, you know, just running away from it is really easy to dodge. And his magnets are extremely easy to dodge as well, so overall, Magnet Man's one of the easier ones to deal with. Still not the easiest. We haven't gotten to the easiest one yet, still, which is kind of funny. If I actually had, you know, if I actually used Spark Man's ability on him, he would die even quicker. But since he's really easy to dodge, I wouldn't even need it. Usually Magnet Man's one of those ones I would do first when I would play this game, just because I don't like the disappearing blocks, so I want to get his stage done quickly, and the fact that he's pretty easy allows me, you know, is the reason why I would actually do Magnet Man first. Plus, his ability would allow me to beat Hard Man with with relative ease. So, since I don't really like Hard Man, I would get Magnet Man's ability quickly so I could use it on him later on. Okay, with Magnet Man defeated, of course we get Magnet Man's ability, which is Magnet Missile, which is those things, of course, he was shooting out at me, and we turn red. Okay, well, we're down to one. The easiest of all, my favorite Robot Master from Mega Man 3. It is Top Man. I love Top Man. Not only is his ability considered one of the worst abilities in all video game history, he's one of the easiest bosses to defeat in Mega Man. Not as easy as Flash Man, for example, but he's probably the easiest one, at least in this game. His stage, of course, has some difficult parts. He has a certain enemy that I have to deal with in his stage that I don't like, so his stage is actually more difficult than him himself. Which I always found funny in some Robot Masters, how their stage would be really difficult, but them themselves is extremely easy, and this is one of those cases, I think. Top Man's extremely easy, but his level's a little bit more challenging than him. Work my way down these ladders, and work my way over now. Watch out for these Metal Bulldozer type things that we've had to deal with. This became like a common enemy for whatever reason in Mega Man 3. There's a whole bunch of them spread out throughout the game. Jump up the fire randomly, and climb down this ladder here. More random tools set up, as of course that one actually hits me there. Come on, there we go. Get a little bit of bonus health, so I actually filled my health back up. Okay, this is that enemy I was talking about, the giant cat that throws yarn balls. I hate this enemy, because it's a pain in the butt to jump up and kill him, while also trying to dodge the yarn balls. So I usually just run in close,
jump quickly, and if you have the turbo button, of course it takes 5 seconds to do, but I'm not really using the turbo on him, so it's one of those annoying bosses that I can't stand. And here's another one where I have to deal with him again. Jump up and fire when I can, and try to dodge the yarn balls. The yarn balls are much easier to dodge this second time around because they actually go off screen and don't keep bouncing around and following you. Random a tool. A little bit difficult jumps here as I get the full health, so I have back up the full max health. Make the longer jump, and of course if I had missed that, instant death, so that's always fun to deal with. Maneuver my way around these tops as they come down at me, jump over them. There we go. Come on, there we go. Get up here and take him out. As we are rounding up near the end here, we have one final thing we gotta deal with, is these spin things. They kind of work like there's cloud things that we dealt with earlier in the jumping, in the end of Snake Man stage. But they're a little bit different. Of course, they spin, I think, a little bit faster, or move you a little bit faster. But here we go with Top Man, the easiest one of all. His tops are extremely easy to dodge because he throws them up and you can just do a slide or back away or whatever, and you'll easily be able to dodge him. He just spins back and forth, firing more tops and moving. You know, he's really easy to follow his pattern. He takes a large amount of damage from his top. From the Mega Blaster. And after only a few times, he is taken care of, and that would complete all the Robot Masters, as we will now get, of course, the best ability of all time, which, of course, is Top Man's Top Spin ability. There we go, as we get that. And now we get to see Mega Man, and of course he'll change into his color that he gets to change into. There we go, Top Spin, and he turns into a yellow, blackish, gray, brown color, which is just horrible. And, you would think we would be going to Wily's stage, but no. In this game, they decided to do something different. They decided to add 4 more levels. Yeah, you have to do the same levels over again. Gemini Man staging, and others. And, so we're going to start off with Spark Man's stage. And what happens is you actually have to fight 2 bosses in it. It's this one random robot guy who actually garners the abilities of the Robot Masters from Mega Man 2. Which doesn't sound, it actually sounds pretty cool, because of course you get to fight, the old bosses of Mega Man 2 again, which, since Mega Man 2 is so awesome, it's a welcome thing to get to see them again. The thing about it is, they're like 6 times harder than they were in Mega Man 2. This guy apparently not only takes the abilities, but he has much faster speed, much harder hits, and since you have to fight 2 per level, and doing 2 of them, they just become a pain. A couple of them are easy still, because they were easy in the last one, but even ones like Flashman are a little bit more challenging to have to deal with. And actually, Flashman is one of my least favorite ones to deal with, and we'll deal with him in a little bit. The thing is, the stages are about as long as they were. There's different patterns and all. There's some different stuff they change up throughout it. And here we go. Here is the first of the Mega Man 2 bosses, and there's that guy. And we're going to have to deal with Middleman first. So as you remember, if you've watched my Mega Man 2 run, he's one of my easier ones. He, of course, throws the blades at you, but the blades seemingly move faster, and if they hit me, they do a lot more damage. He also likes to fire 4 of them out sometimes, which is even more challenging to deal with. Still not too challenging. He's one of the easier ones still, but I just thought, I add the fact that, he does fire them a lot faster and can fire up to like 4 of them randomly at a time, and you can see just how much damage, they do more damage and such, but come on, die, guy. There we go. I used to decide to lengthen the game by adding these. The game actually is as long as like Mega Man 4 and such, because Mega Man 4 added, instead of just adding Wily stage, you had a whole nother set of stages you had to deal with. In this one, they decide to add just do the same stages you've already dealt with, but they're going to do all the Robot Masters from 2 as well, which I'm kind of glad they didn't do this with 4 by adding all the Robot Masters from 3 in it. That would have just been even more difficult to have to deal with. But, it's just one of those things in games. And, it's probably one of the other reasons why I didn't like this one as much, just because I hate dealing with some of them and having to fight 2 bosses per level, which used to get pretty annoying, especially if you didn't have energy tanks, or didn't stock up on them. It was a real pain to have to deal with that. Here's more of that trash things that we saw earlier when we did Sparkman stage the first time around. Jump over the trash piles and work my way over, slow down as it goes on. And here we go, here's the final boss of Sparkman stage, and then we'll be moving on. It's Quickman, who of course is a lot quicker than he was in Mega Man 2. He of course still has the Quickman boomerangs, but he's not as dumb as he used to be. He doesn't run into walls. I guess they improved the artificial intelligence of Quickman when they added it to this guy's arsenal. His boomerangs are much harder to dodge. He jumps around a lot faster. He doesn't run into the walls, so you can blast in a whole bunch of extra shots. Pretty much the same strategy, though, applies. You don't want to get hit by him. If you're going to get hit, you want to get hit by the actual boomerangs that he fires out. So take a hit by them if in case he's running towards you or such. But as you can see, with his added speed and the added damage abilities, it's actually a much tougher battle than it was even in Mega Man 2. One more hit, and there, he's taken care of, and we have 2 of 8 taken care of. Also, unfortunately, we don't get all the abilities either, which would have been kind of cool, actually. Okay, here we go with Needleman. Or, well, Needleman stage, at least. See who we have to actually deal with. Cool thing is, though, they did kind of change up the stages a little bit, so even though you're doing Needleman stage again, as you can see, instead of being light out, it's now, like, at night. So at least they did change up some of the stuff, but since it's still essentially the same stage, a little bit annoying that you have to deal with it. But like I said, it's kind of a cool concept, but in another way, since they're harder, you don't really want it either. I think after everyone defeated the Robot Masters, they just kind of want to move on to Wily and get Wily done with. You're like, come on. I just took out all those guys, and now, like in the previous 2, once I took them all out, I went right to Wily. And now I gotta deal with a whole bunch of other guys. I think it would have annoyed people. I know it annoyed me when I first got to this point. Use my rush coil in order to make it up this ladder here. There we go. Work my way up even more as I'm going to pull out the rush jet here. There we go. Run over here and grab this energy tank real quick. And here we go. We have our first of 2 bosses from from Needleman stage. Already did Sparkman. Now we're on Needleman. Okay, here we go. First of the Robot Masters from 2. We have Airman, who, in case you remember, I had a pretty easy time with because I have a pretty good strategy against Airman. His things, of course, do more damage, and of course he's harder. Since he takes a lot more shots and bullets, my strategy doesn't work as well as it did against him in the first time around. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to try to do my same strategy, but as you can see, he's not dead yet, which at this point in the battle in Mega Man 2, he would have already been taken care of. So I'm going to do my best to dodge through the shots, even though he's going to hit me a lot, and then just stand close and fire a whole bunch of shots quickly. Since he is the first of 2 in here, unfortunately I lost a lot of health during the course of that battle, so hopefully I can pick up the rest of my health as I move on towards the final part of this one. You know what? Screw you guys. I don't like you anymore. I'm going to throw Shatter Stars at you. Okay. Rush jet time. Over a giant pit of despair here. And there's some full health, or full item things, or large item things, so I can grab them in order to maneuver my way, continuing around the stage. There's another one. We're trying to get up here and grab it here. Come on, get in there. There we go. It's kind of hard time fitting in there. Grab that one as well, and now I'm back up to full. It drains pretty quickly, so I gotta continue moving pretty fast, but since they at least put those items in there, it's not that bad, and at least if I get hit, I won't die instantly. I could officially grab that one by doing a slide and all, but here's another one real quick, even though I really don't need it since I'm at the end. Switch out of the rush jet and jump up the ladder. There's another one of these things here. I'll pull out the rush jet just to fill my item back up, and I'll use it real quick to get up this thing. Of course, I could use the rush coil if I wanted to. Oh, here's our springy guys that we saw earlier in Snake. We had to deal with them before, in Snake Man stage in particular. Okay, we have a giant mini-boss, which is a weird giant Matul that drops other Matuls out of it. For whatever reason, I guess they decided to make the level even longer by throwing out in one of these mini-bosses that kind of similar to the giant cat with the yarn balls that we dealt with in Top Man stage. So very similar to that, actually, but... Okay, come on, guy. Firing at him when I can, shooting, jumping and shooting, kill the Matuls. Watch out for the giant balls he shoots out of his mouth. There we go. Walk, walk, walk. Continue to walk. There's some more tools that now have helicopters on their head. So they just keep changing up the dynamic that you have to deal with them. Stupid cannons that take three of their shots to kill. Move over. God damn, another one? This is one of the longest stages in Mega Man history, it feels like. Jump up and shoot when I can and dodge the balls. Exactly the exact same thing we did before. That one took a lot less, though, thankfully. Here's another one. There's random needle monsters. Good thing is, I have full health, at least currently, as I'm going into the battle, so that's the good thing. That's one of the good things. Work my way over. And here we go with Crashman, or Clashman, or whatever you like to call him, depending upon if you play the Game Boy version or the NES version, or whatever. He actually is still one of the easier ones in terms of being able to figure out his pattern, because he's still completely reliant, just about, on your shots. Not as much, it seems like. He seems to have a little bit more of a mindset. But for whatever reason, the Mega Blaster actually still does a decent amount of damage to him, unlike some of the other ones that we've had to deal with through this game. So it's actually pretty quickly I can get through him. But at least he's done with, and we are halfway done the Mega Man 2 bosses. Yeah, and remember, and think about it, we still have Wily's Castle to go, so you can see the length of the games really increased with Mega Man 3, because at this point in Mega Man 1, we were actually wrapping up the game, I think, at this point. My run was just about over, and then we have about another 10 minutes or so before we'll catch up to the end of what would have been the end of Mega Man 2. Okay, here we go with Gemini Man stage, and we have more of the fire-dropping guys who now drop blue fire instead of the red fire, but still basically the same thing. Some of the jumps are a little bit more challenging because they decided to do smaller platforms and such, and even more of the fire guys. Just trying at their best to make sure that no one ever wins at this game. Work my way over, shoot, and shoot more. That guy falls right down the hole. Move my way over, continuing past it, and now we get to this part. The giant hole is still there that Proto Man opened up for us earlier, the first time around when we were in this level. But we still have to deal with more of these random blue, pods that are filled with random blue enemies. The only thing good still is they do drop random items, including, extra lives and full health and such. So, that's about the only thing good about them. Work my way over and down. Work my way over here and drop down to take out a whole lot more of these guys by jumping and hitting, as that one just took me out there. Keep firing and jumping and trying to get through this area as easily as possible. God damn you. There we go. Take him out, jump up here, and take them out to see if I can get some extra health or something. Don't really need it, though. Here we go. Fire through this whole area. This area actually is really short, but since you have to do so many of these things, it takes a lot. It takes a lot longer. Working my way over, and here we go with probably the hardest. The second hardest. I think Woodman's still the hardest. It's Flashman, who, as you remember, is the easiest boss of Mega Man history, but he's extremely hard here because it's hard to jump over him. It's almost impossible to jump over him. The only way I found out to jump over him is be on this top platform here, and as he jumps up, as soon as he lands on the top platform, jump over his head. As you can see, that's the only way I can seemingly jump over him while not being touched by him, and I have a good vantage point for being able to dodge most of his fire shot, his shots that he puts out. As he just hit me again there, god damn. Like I said, this is my least favorite of these ones I have to deal with, because I have a hard time making these jumps. God damn, as you can see, he messes me up pretty good, and this is only halfway through, of course. So we still have another boss that we have to deal with in this stage, which isn't, don't know if it can be much harder than this one. There we go, take him out, one more shot, there we go. At least he's taken care of, so now we're down to the final 3 here. Pull out my rush coil here so I can make this jump, there we go. Pull back out my weapon. Trying to walk around here to try to find some health items, hopefully. In case I somehow would absolutely need it, I can pull out my energy tanks, like I said, but... Hey look, since it's Gemini Man stage again, we get to use the Rush Marine. Jump here, fill up my item thing. Work my way over, dodge all the stuff that shoots missiles. Dodging all the other enemies that drop their heads onto me as well. Switch out. There we go, so I can slide underneath here. Watch out for all these guys. I'm gonna jump up to the ladder here. You know what? I'll kill this guy. No, no health. Oh well. Work my way through this area, and then we got these things that like to climb up ladders and down ladders and such. Of course, just gotta be careful of them when you're trying to make a jump over a pit, but other than that, they're extremely easy to take care of. Work my way over, dodge out for spikes, climb down. A big water area, and here we go with the next boss, which I think we can kind of tell who it's gonna be just from the way the level's set up. It's Bubble Man. Of course, we have to fight Bubble Man underwater. His health fully goes up, and he pretty much has the same pattern as before. He's gonna throw the bubbles, and then he's gonna land, and as soon as he lands, he's gonna fire a shot. The thing about it is, though, he usually, all the time now, fires out the 3 bubbles after he lands. So he's gonna fire that first shot and then launch out the 3 bubbles as I'm just getting messed up here. Come on. I can do this without using the damn thing. Come on. Halfway done here. Take him out. There we go. Come on. 3 bubbles. Watch out for the spikes on the ceiling. Oh crap, it's gonna suck. Come on, come on, come on. You know you want to die. Damn it. Come on. I'm not gonna use it. I'm not gonna do it. Come on. Here we go. There we go. Shoo, that was close. That was the closest yet. I have 1 hit left. I didn't want to use my energy tanks. I wanted to make sure I could, because I know I'm going to have to use one against one of these guys. I know who it's going to be, too. It's going to be my re-battle against Woodman. Because he's just a real pain in the butt. But now we head to Shadow Man stage one more time, and we get to fight the final 2 of Mega Man 2's bosses. And then we finally get to go to Wily's Castle, in case you're wondering. Finally. After this, we'll get to go. We have to fight Proto Man again first, but then we will finally get our chance to travel to Wily's Castle and have to do all the fun of Wily's Castle. Watch out for this guy. Slide underneath when I can. There's those flipping guys again. They're all throughout this game, it seems like. Every time I turn around, there's another one of these flipping little guys that move. Pretty easy to dodge, and they're just there to annoy me. This part's a little pain in the butt, the jumps you have to make with these things. Watch out for the grenade guys, because they're one of those enemies that when you shoot them, they then explode. So by doing so, you know, they have a hit radius that's a lot longer than usual. In case you like shoot one as it's right in front of you, it'll end up hitting you as well. Work my way down, and we're at the halfway point. We get to face off against one of the final 2. Work my way over, and here we go. And it's Woodman. Oh, God. Like before, he charges up his leaf shield, and he fires it as soon as the leaves come down. The thing about it is, the leaves move 6 times faster. He fires the weapon quicker, and the weapon does a ton more damage. And of course, if he jumps into you as well, he does a ton of damage, you know, he does a ton of damage, takes away a good chunk of your health. So, this is one of those bosses where I'm probably going to have to use an energy tank, because he's going to mess me up, because it's almost impossible to dodge his damn shots. Because by the time the leaves start falling from the ceiling, it's almost impossible to jump over the leaf shield, while also being able to avoid it, as I'm just going to use my... Before I get hit here, I'm just going to use my energy tank. I have a ton of them, but I don't like using them unless I absolutely need to, which... Like I said when I started this one, this is probably my least... It's the one I'm the least good at, so... With that being said, I know I had a feeling I would have to use one before Wily. And good, he's taken care of, so that leaves 1 left. 1 Mega Man 2 boss left. Work my way through, shoot the random Hammer Joe guys. There we go. Work over, more Hammer Joes, which I can slide under their weapons, so at least I can get through this area without getting hit. There we go. And he's... Oh, come on, he's not taken care of yet? Damn. Work over. More parachuting guys that are over big, giant, gaps that we have to deal with. Which these guys are a pain, like I said, because they're one of those enemies that are there just to knock you into the hole. They're not there to be challenging, they're not there, for anything else other than they want to make sure. Capcom wanted to see if you would jump and hit them and end up falling down into the pit. back over. There's some item collecting, so I can fill up my items if I needed to. And here's the end, as we got one of these missile launching guys. Come on, guy. Come on, you know we won't die. There we go. Okay, it's now time for the final one. Have you figured out who it is? Since there's only one left, of course, it's gonna be Heatman. The one that looks like a giant lighter. Okay, as I stretch, here we go, here's Heatman. And just like before, Heatman has his abilities the same. He's gonna throw those 3 arcing fireballs that do kind of like that fire thing that the guy from Gemini Man stage was doing. And then of course he's gonna charge up and go Super Saiyan 2 on us and throw, throw himself towards us at a barreling speed. Watch out for the fire and jump over and get shots when you can. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of shots to seemingly take out because the Buster doesn't do nearly as much damage as it used to. As you can see, this battle just takes forever. But it's the final one, so I'm not complaining that much. Because at least this is the end of the Mega Man 2 bosses, and then we can finally get going with the actual final area of the game, or the final parts of the game. Which we are now at the point or so when Mega Man 2 was ending. So Mega Man 2, I would have been able to beat Mega Man 2 within the time it took me to get to the end, just to get to Wily's Castle in Mega Man 3. So it's a good, they added a good chunk of extra time, which is a good thing. Because it was, this was starting to get later in the NES, so we expected longer, we were expecting longer games. So at least Capcom gave us that, they gave us at least somewhat longer games. Okay, with everything beaten, here we go with Breakman, or Proto Man, depending upon whatever. He's Proto Man, but he's in disguise as Breakman. And just like all the other previous times, he has the exact same pattern that we've had to deal with before. Except, of course, you have a little bit of a harder thing to deal with, similar like we had to do with the first time we dealt with him, earlier in this run. But it's still basically the same exact thing. Once he's taken care of, you teleport out, you teleport back to Dr. Light, who says, "Oh no, right after we received the last element, Wily ran off with Gamma." And there we see Wily in his spaceship, his famous UFO, as he flies up into the sky and reveals himself and gets to do the eyebrow raise, which is one of the funniest things he gets to do. And he takes off, and boom, there we go with the giant skull castle. Of course, differently designed than the previous Wily stages. But here we go with Wily stages. We start with the Wily stages. The long journey that it takes to get through Wily's castle. As you can see, we have to deal with the random enemies from Top Man stage. I was wondering if that was kind of an omen to later on, when you have to use Top Man's ability to defeat the very final boss of the game, and probably the most hilarious things of all time. Now, of course, in this little water area, I could use the Rush Marine to get through it a little bit easier, but since it's a pretty basic water part, and since it's not very long, I don't really think it was worth pulling out the Rush Marine to get through that area. Use my slide to get up here. And, of course, there's a whole bunch of extra items if I need them, but I think I've stocked up on a decent amount of energy tanks, even though I had to use one, unfortunately, in that battle against the not-so-Woodman. Because of that, I had to use one, but I still have plenty more, so I should be good in terms of that, in case I run low on health. Okay, random Hammer Joe's being taken out here by my blaster. There we go. As I continue to barrel on. Pull out my Rush Coil here, so I can get up to this top platform with the Hammer Joe. You know what? Let's see if I can take him out without having to actually do anything cool. I'm gonna pull out the Rush Jet and fire at him with an easier. Oh, look at that! He actually dropped a. That was cool. He actually dropped one of his item things. You know what? Disappearing blocks? Screw you. I'm using the Rush Jet. I am not screwing with you. And of course, if I needed them, which I'll just grab them right there so I can fill back up my Rush Jet. They nicely put items there because they know people were going to use the Rush Jet against it. Okay, here we go with the first boss, and it is the Turtle Launcher. Yes, it's similar to that boss with the tiles in Mega Man 2 and the bubble boss from Mega Man 1. He fires out many versions of these turtles, these turtle robots, and as you can see, each time I defeat one, a little piece of his health is taken away. So I can, slowly deplete his health by taking out all these and work my way into finally being able to take him out. There we go. Come on, wait for him. There we go. Aw, damn, he didn't die. There we go. And finally, we got him. He is taken care of, and the first of the Wily bosses has been taken care of. And we move on to the next Wily stage. Here we go. Wily stage number 2, which we start off on these jumping platforms and work our way up a whole set of ladders. It's always fun to deal with. Work our way over and get an extra little bonus life. Slide through. Speed it up by sliding a little bit. Try to get through different areas and use the slide here to get through all these things before they end up jumping out the little alligator style robot things like monster animal traps or whatever, trying to get me in their clutches and take out Mega Man's leg, or if they're so big they could probably take out Mega Man's entire body in one snap. Come on, kill them. Damn you bees, I hate these bees. Okay, Rust Jet time. Ride down the Rust Jet to get over to this area. Gonna jump up here and get some of this extra health. Jump over, grab another energy tank, throw him over, another energy tank, so you can see I obviously didn't need to pick up that energy tank earlier in Mega Man in Wily Stage 1, because they give me a ton of them. But it's time for the Yellow Devil returneth. Oh yes, the Yellow Devil from Mega Man 1 makes his triumphant return, except this time I find him a lot more easy, because his eye is a lot easier to hit. He keeps it open a little bit longer, so you can get him more shots when necessary. He does change it up a little bit. Instead of just throwing all his pieces at you, he will bounce them at you as well. So at least he changes up some things, but he's still a lot easier to hit. You can do, he's still pretty difficult. Let's not kid ourselves. He's still pretty difficult, but if you defeat it, if you've beaten the Mega Man 1 Yellow Devil, you can defeat the Mega Man 3 Yellow Devil in pretty much relative ease. There's actually a bigger room, it seems like, as well, so I have more room to be able to jump. Okay, here we go with his things, which actually I like the bouncing things, even though they hit me a lot, which my best strategy against them is being able to do the slide on them. But I like them a little bit better just because it takes less time. The longest thing about this battle, and the reason why it's so hard, is it takes so long. And once you get them down to a good amount of health taken away, you don't want to, end up dying. You'd rather use the energy tank. No doubt about that. Here we go, slide, slide, and one more slide, and there we go. Able to get past him without taking him out. As you can see, I'm doing a good amount of health. If I wanted to use turbo, I could even do more. I just gotta be careful. I don't want to get hit anymore unless, Unfortunately, I end up taking damage, but I don't want to take any more damage. Okay, wait for all the little pieces to fly over. As you can see, they're pretty easy to dodge, actually. Much easier than they were in Mega Man 1. Because they don't seem to have the same speed as they used to. Slide under. There we go. Just to the other side. Come on, die. There we go. Yellow Devil number 2 has been defeated. And with him being defeated, of course, we move on to Wily Stage number 3. Here we go. Wily Stage 3. There's another one of those top-type looking enemies. It kind of looks like a top. Just wondering, more omen. Just wondering. Or it could just be completely coincidence. But since I love Top Man, I want to look at all the conspiracy theories that makes why Top Man's ability is so awesome. Work up this ladder here, and there's an energy tank that's extremely easy to grab, so why not grab it? As you can see, I have a ridiculous amount of them at this point. Which I don't need anywhere near that much to be able to get through the rest of Wily's thing. I mean, I have 9 of them right now. I used 1, so officially I've grabbed 10 during the course of the run. But I should only have to use a maximum of 1 more throughout the rest of this, hopefully. Unless something unfortunate happens, maybe during the boss rush or something. Which, thankfully for the boss rush, we just have to deal with the 8 Robot Masters that were new to this game. We don't have to deal with all the Mega Man 2 ones as well, thankfully. Or else that would have just been a real big pain in the butt. These jumps are a little bit fun to deal with. Of course, if you stay on the platform too long, or you miss a jump, you're instantly dead. So it's kind of fun. It reminds me of a part of Bucky O'Hare. Work my way over. And here we go. The Mega Man clones. Climb quickly to the top. and start firing. Because usually it seems like the pattern goes like this. Top, then bottom, fire, and then he will go into the middle. And then keep firing in the middle, and he should be taken care of pretty quickly. Every time I do this, I seem to get that pattern. I don't know if it's, sometimes set depending upon certain things or whatnot. It could be completely random. It just seems like for the most part, I end up getting top, bottom, middle. That just seems to be what I end up getting all the time. Here we go with Wily stage number 4, which you have this guy who throws trash at us. That's always fun to deal with. Break open one of those extra bonus little hidden mystery boxes. Get through over Guts Man. Yes, I refer to him as Guts Man. He throws giant trash piles and in a very similar manner to Guts Man. And since Wily loves Guts Man, it's no wonder why, of course, they would use pieces of Guts Man or Guts Man-like things in this game. Okay, work over to the giant pod, and here we go. It's time for the famous Mega Man Boss Rush. And we're going to start with the top right here. And we're starting with Snake Man, who we have to battle on pretty much the same exact type platforms that we have to deal with him in his stage. And since it's pretty much the same exact battle, watch out for his search snakes. He'll jump from, left to right, dropping the snakes, in order for us to, just have to dodge him and take him out when we can. If we had, I could use Needleman's ability to take him out, but as you can see, it's really just not difficult. It just takes time. That's probably the most difficult thing about it is timing your jumps and the time it takes in order to very, very slowly drain his health away. Come on, guy. Jump over, fire when I need to. Come on, you really want to stay on this platform and die. Come on. Jump one more, there we go. And just like always, they drop at least, one of those big health items, so I can at least bring my health up a good amount. Here we go with Sparkman number 2, which is, of course, he's pretty much just as easy as he was the first time around. He's going to do that spark spread shot type thing, and then he's going to fire his big blast at us, which, if you get hit by one of the smaller ones, of course, beforehand, you don't even have to worry about the big one, because hopefully you're still flashing when he fires that one, and it'll just go right through you. So there's a little bit of strategy in case, for whatever reason. Okay, continue jumping over him, dodging when I can, jump over his shots, and fire when I need to. Come on, guy. There's another couple hits, another one, there we go. Grab my health item, and move on to the next one. Here we go with Shadow Man number 2. He's, of course, going to do the same thing as before. He's going to jump at us and do a lot of the big super slides at us, which is the most difficult thing to deal with. And then every once in a while, he'll stand there and throw his shadow star things at us, his shadow blades. He'll throw them at us. Come on, guy. Fire, fire, keep firing. Every time he lands, I'll get a good shot on him. There we go. Damn you, sliding into me. That's not fair. God damn, guy. I'm getting messed up by Shadow Man all of a sudden. One more shot, one more. There we go. Grab the health item and move on. We're about halfway there. We're getting halfway there now. Here's number 4, and it's Top Man. The greatest of all time, Top Man. He's going to spin across, we're going to fire, he's going to throw those things, it's easy to dodge around. You can see how much damage the Mega Buster does against him. Wait for him, jump over him, fire some more shots. You can see how much quickly I'm draining his health. One more good shot on him and he's taken care of. Boom, there he goes. Fill my health up all the way back up to max. Here we go with Hard Man, who of course is one of my ones that I have the most problems with. It's hard. I have a harder time dodging over his hard knuckle. Most of the time I'll just stand close to him and keep firing, and I'd rather take the shots from the hard knuckle than taking this shot from his giant body landing on top of me. Come on, guy. He lands, fires shots, he's gonna fire the hard knuckles, he ends up hitting me. Keep firing, dun 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 dun, keep shooting. Fire as many shots as possible. Come on, guy, da da da. More shots, one more. And there, he's taken care of. Get my item thing. And we're down to the final 3. Here we go. And we start off with Gemini Man, who of course is one of the quicker and harder ones to deal with. He's going to do this clone ability again. Which, like I mentioned before, anytime you fire your shot at him, whatever one's on the ground usually with him is the one that's going to fire at you. if you catch it at the right moment when the one's landing on the left side, sometimes he won't fire at you, so that's a benefit. And of course, sometimes if they're both on the ground, they'll both fire at you. So it's kind of hard to judge it exactly when you should time it, but either way, take it out the clone, and of course now he's going to be doing the Gemini Beam. And he's extremely, like I said, this whole second part of the battle is really easy in comparison to that first part. Because it's just basic jumping and basic stuff, and the Gemini Beam doesn't really do too much. Once he's taken out, we move on, and we have two more left. Here we go. Next up, it's Magnet Man. The world-famous Magnet Man. What? Not really? Anyway, his same thing, of course, is he's going to throw those magnets at the top. And, of course, he's going to jump around like an idiot. And do that magnet pull move where he pulls us towards him as I stretch there. So we're getting late in the run here. You know, after we reach the hour mark, it's one of the longer runs I've done so far. Magnet pulls in us towards him. He jumps over us. Fires some more magnet. Fire when I can. Oh, here was more of the magnet blades. It was easy to dodge over. Only one more shot now. Wait for it. And now. Oh, damn, I missed the first one. Oh well, bygone with the second one. Okay, he's done, and let's move on to the next one here. Here we go with Needle Man, the final of the Robot Masters of Mega Man 3. Same thing as before, it's gonna be it's hard to dodge the needles, that's first and foremost. It's always gonna be hard to dodge the damn needles, but the best thing about him is, if he gets in a whole pattern where he just keeps doing the head move, where he keeps throwing his head out, he'll actually get stuck like that sometimes and just keep doing that randomly. Like this time he's just doing needles, it seems like. God damn, okay, finally he's actually doing the head move, so I actually can do damage to him. Slide around, move around easily, he keeps doing the head move. Okay, unfortunately more needles. God damn, dude. One more hit, come on, two more hits, come on. There we go, one more, there we go. And I unfortunately only have about half of my health. Here we go, through the next boss. Work my way over. You can have some item collecting if you need items. If you need to improve your items. But the good thing is, we get to go to the final stage. Wily's stage and the final stage, the boss rush and the final stage of the game, at least, are two separate things in this one. So, you don't have to fight Wily right after the boss rush. Okay, here we go with Dr. Wily's giant crab-like robot. The easiest way to hit him, of course, is you gotta fire your shots at the gun that's hanging below him, which is pretty easy to hit, as you can see. He's firing these looping shots at me. And to take him out before trying to take him out as quickly as possible. Of course, I can also slide underneath of him when I need to in order to get past the giant legs of the crab, but as you can see, as more stuff comes on screen, the slower it seems to get. Come on, one more good hit, two more. There we go. Okay, now that he's taken care of, we actually have to deal with Dr. Wily in the ship itself, which he fires these arcing regular small bullets, and the only way to hit him with the actual Mega Buster is when he drops down every couple of things. That's when our opportunity comes to actually launch a whole bunch of random damage at him. So that's what we're looking for here. Every time he drops a little bit, take away as much health as we possibly can, but you gotta get really high up there, so it's actually pretty hard to hit him. Okay, I gotta use an energy tank, unfortunately. Oh well. Come on, guy. I hate this one. This is actually harder than the actual final boss. Because, of course, as you know, even though we're in the final stage, you know how, just like in Mega Man 2, they're going to trick you and add an extra stage onto the game. Even though we've already dealt with having to deal with all the Robot Masters from Mega Man 2, and we still have to deal with the extra final stage of Wily's Castle to finish off the game once and for all. Come on, guy. You can see how long this battle takes, especially when I'm just using the Mega Buster. I could use some of the other items in the game that would be actually beneficial and would help me out some, but I am just using the Mega Buster, which, good thing is, he's almost done. The bad news is I'm getting low on health again, unfortunately. God damn it. The thing about it is, it's really not that hard if it wasn't for these arcing little shots, because every time he seems to drop down, that's when he fires, of course, a shot at me, so I have to take the choice whether or not to do damage to Wily or get hit by one of those damn bullets. So hopefully now, though, he's almost done. I don't have to use another tank. There we go. Dr. Wily gets blasted out of there like it was some kind of, like, spring system, you know, ejection seat inside of the ship. He falls down here. And you find out it's a fake Dr. Wily. So, of course, that means we have one final stage to deal with. And here we go. A whole bunch of items. The good news is we just go right into the boss battle. We don't even have to deal with anything else. Okay, here we go with the final boss of the game. First off, we're going to jump up using Rush Coil. We're going to get up to this platform up here. And what we're going to do is, I'm going to be using items, yes. And I'm going to be pulling out my hard knuckle and firing them in an arcing shot, because you actually control the hard knuckle, and keep punching him in the face. After a few of those, he disappears and turns into his final form. This is when you bring out your top spin and jump towards him and spin. And boom, instantly dead. His health drops from half of his health. He had half his health left, instantly gone, because the mighty top spin does it all. It finishes off anybody. The toughest enemies in the world get taken out by top spin. We get saved, a giant block falls on his head, but we get saved by a mysterious guy, a mysterious stranger, quote unquote. And then we fall here and gets Mega Man. You've regained consciousness. I found you lying here when I arrived. I wonder who brought you here. ... This whistle, it must have been Proto Man. Really? You don't say. Didn't figure that one out yet. And Mega Man blasts off and he starts to run. He goes for it, just like Mega Man 2, but a little bit tougher, because Mega Man not only, you know, he took a nice little stroll at the end of Mega Man 2, but now he's running. I assume he's running to try to find Proto Man or whatever, but kind of funny that he's just running now. He took a nice walk and now he wants to run at the end of Mega Man 3. And you get to see all the different Robot Masters, or the original set of Robot Masters listed at the bottom here from the original Mega Man game. There's Roll, the housekeeping robot, which I think is probably the first time they mentioned Roll by name in the series. Mega Man 001, former assistant to Dr. Wright. Ha ha ha. And 000, new robot prototype and the brother of Mega Man, the original robot from Dr. Light. Yes, Dr. Light, not Wright, whatever. Just the L and R things always messed up, especially in early Japanese translation. Mega Man stares up at Proto Man's face in the clouds, or sky, or whatever. And now we actually get to the other credits, where we get to see all the Robot Masters, and I guess they're who designed them. You know, we've seen this all in Mega Man 1, and we saw it in Mega Man 2 as well, and we see it in all the other ones pretty much after this. But we get to see him again. There's Hard Man again. And it's going to go through all the random ones before actually getting to the actual credits. There's number 21, Top Man. 22 is Snake Man. 23 is Spark Man. Number 24, Shadow Man. And here we go with the actual full credits of the game as we get to see them. We got Don Chan. Sound composed by Bun Bun. Yeah. Programmer, Kiro. We got Bamboo as the sub-planning. Of course, you know, basic, actual Japanese names for most of the other random credits that are going by. Whole lot of people, of course, worked on this game. Capcom had a pretty damn big company at this point making these games, so a lot of people got the chance to work on them. Kuba Win, Erebon, Yachan Z, Iriko. Lots of space, endless amounts of space as Mega Man flies in on the Rush Jet, presented by Capcom. And there we go, there's your ending of the game. And with that, that's going to wrap up another edition of Play It Through, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.